Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. What happened to Evelyn Dutton on Yellowstone? Her death and complicated relationship with Beth explained. In Yellowstone, Evelyn Dutton, Gretchen Mole, left a complicated legacy, and her death particularly affected her daughter, Beth. The upcoming Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 will conclude this chapter of the Duttons' lives. Though Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western Yellowstone universe loves to revisit the past. Prequel series like 1883 and 1923 show the trials and tribulations of previous Dutton generations, while the flagship show itself loves a good flashback. These glimpses into the past show how the present Duttons came to be who they are. This context is particularly important in understanding Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, who is easily the most complex character in Yellowstone. She is whip-smart with an unrivaled business acumen, and her loyalty, particularly to her father John Dutton, Kevin Costner, and husband Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser, is unrivaled. However, Beth is a total loose cannon, prone to childlike, violent temper tantrums, and her erratic behavior has gotten her in trouble many times. Every aspect of Beth's personality, from the finance shark to the doting daughter to the sadistic bully, is informed by her deceased mother, Evelyn Dutton. Evelyn Dutton's death is shown in Yellowstone Season 1, Episode 3, No Good Horses. In a flashback to March 30, 1997, Evelyn has taken young Beth, Kelly Rogers, and Case, Rye Alterman, riding and is visibly annoyed at Beth's skittishness atop her horse. A petrified Beth spooks her horse, which in turn startles Evelyn's. Evelyn is thrown, and her horse falls on top of her, crushing her to death. However, Evelyn doesn't succumb immediately, and instead of sending Case, the more experienced rider, for help, she forces Beth to go because she did this. This is the last thing Beth ever hears her mother say, and it sticks with her for the rest of her life. This guilt is amplified on the anniversary of Evelyn's death, in which a present-day Beth chastises her father for sleeping with another woman and infamously bathes nude in a horse trough while swilling champagne in front of the Yellowstone's employees. Beth became exactly who she is because of that fateful day. The only other Yellowstone episode to feature Evelyn Dutton is Season 1, Episode 7, A Monster Among Us, in which viewers get further insight into the Dutton family matriarch's complicated relationship with Beth. This flashback occurs on December 25, 1996, in which Evelyn shows a much softer side to her daughter. As the boys are eager to open their Christmas presents, Beth is distraught upon getting her first period. Evelyn kindly puts her in the bath and gives Beth a speech. Evelyn dies just 3 months later, which explains why she was so harsh with Beth that day. She perceived Beth's fear as weakness, which went against her teachings. However, Evelyn's tough love parenting approach leaves Beth in a permanent state of arrested development when she loses her mother. Beth certainly learned how to be tough, but it came at a huge cost. This explains why she so often lashes out like an angry teenager, because the person whose approval she so desperately craves will never be there to give it. Beth's need for approval is also ever present in her relationship with her father, though it shows up much differently. John always showed Beth kindness and compassion. He comforted her after her mother's fall, a sharp contrast to Evelyn's acidic treatment of her daughter in her final moments. As an adult, Beth behaves like a little girl around John, calling him Daddy and obeying his every word, even when she knows he's wrong. At first glance, Beth seems like a woman of many contradictions, but after seeing her relationship with Evelyn, the Yellowstone character becomes a lot easier to understand. Evelyn Dutton, the matriarch of the Dutton family on Yellowstone, played a significant yet tragic role in the show's backstory. Although she is not a central character in the present-day storyline, her influence looms large over her children, particularly Beth Dutton. Evelyn's death and her complicated relationship with Beth have shaped many of the conflicts and emotional struggles that play out in the show. How did Evelyn Dutton die? Evelyn Dutton, portrayed by Gretchen Mol in flashback scenes, met her tragic end when Beth was just a young girl. The incident occurred during the routine horseback ride with Beth and Case. As the three rode together, Beth's inexperience and fear caused a catastrophic event. Evelyn urged Beth to get on her horse, instructing her with a cold and demanding demeanor. Beth, already struggling with confidence, hesitated and failed to control the horse properly. The animal panicked, and in the chaos, Evelyn's horse was spooked and reared up, throwing her violently to the ground. She was left with devastating injuries, unable to move. As she lay on the ground, writhing in pain, Evelyn told Beth that this was her fault, a statement that would scar Beth for life. Case, just a child himself, ran for help, but by the time John Dutton arrived, Evelyn had succumbed to her injuries. Her death left a lasting impact on the entire Dutton family, with Beth carrying the weight of guilt for the rest of her life. Evelyn Dutton's relationship with Beth. Evelyn was a stern and often harsh mother to Beth. While she loved her children, she believed in toughening them up for the hard life they would inevitably face as ranchers. However, she seemed to single out Beth for particularly cruel treatment, constantly pushing her to be stronger and more resilient. Unlike the warmth she showed Case or the pride she had in Lee, Evelyn saw Beth's vulnerabilities as weaknesses that needed to be eradicated. One of the most haunting moments that illustrates their relationship occurs in a flashback when Evelyn tells Beth that she needs to toughen up because the world doesn't care about weak women. She pressured Beth into situations where she felt overwhelmed, making her constantly doubt herself. Beth, desperate for approval, internalized this harsh upbringing and eventually turned into the strong but deeply wounded woman fans see in the present-day timeline. Despite her mother's cruelty, Beth idolized Evelyn in many ways, constantly striving to be the tough woman Evelyn wanted her to be, though the cost was her own emotional well-being. The long-lasting effects of Evelyn's death. Evelyn's death had a ripple effect on the entire Dutton family, but its impact was most severe on Beth. Not only did she carry the guilt of her mother's death, but she also endured further trauma later when she turned to her brother Jamie for help with an unwanted pregnancy, only for him to betray her by taking her to a clinic where she was unknowingly sterilized. This betrayal, compounded by her mother's harsh treatment, made Beth one of the most emotionally complex characters on Yellowstone. Beth's relationship with her father, John Dutton, was also shaped by Evelyn's death. While John loves Beth fiercely, he recognizes the scars left by her mother and struggles to fully connect with her on an emotional level. Despite this, Beth remains fiercely loyal to the family, often going to extreme lengths to protect the Dutton legacy. Her relationship with Rip Wheeler is another area where Evelyn's influence is felt. Beth clings to Rip, seeing him as a source of unconditional love, something she rarely received from her mother. Rip understands Beth's pain and never judges her for it, providing a stark contrast to the judgment she received from Evelyn. Evelyn Dutton's legacy on Yellowstone. Even though Evelyn's screen time in Yellowstone is limited, her presence is deeply felt in every episode. Her strict, often merciless parenting style shaped Beth into the hardened warrior she is today. Evelyn's death was not just a personal loss, but a psychological wound that never fully healed, influencing every major decision Beth makes.